evening and good to have you with us in this edition of The Last Word. For the last 3 days, we've been getting you non-stop updates on what we believe is an extremely important story. Not just if you are a PMC Bank customer, but if you are a banking customer at all, especially if you have your account in a cooperative bank, then you need to watch this story. You need to understand what's going on. And you need to know whether your money is safe and whether the RBI and the government are doing enough to watch out for and look out for your interests versus anybody else's interests, whether it's their own or the politicians or the big corporates. Now, I say this because as very few details emerge even on day 3, what looks like is that there was a massive irregularity because of the decisions taken by the bank, because of the loans given by the bank and because of the way they were maintained it. And I'm not saying this. I am only telling you what the RBI is telling us. The RBI today tried to justify this clampdown, the clampdown where customers were told that only 1,000 rupees can be withdrawn in the next 6 months. Finally, after much outrage, the RBI said, all right, you can take 10,000 rupees, as if that's going to make a lot of difference. But the justification there is that over 60% of the account holders have roughly about 10,000 in their account. So at least they can access all of their money. But what about the others is the big question. But before I go to that, like I said, here are the reasons the RBI gave us. That they have found a major financial irregularity in this bank. That they now know that there has been a failure of internal control and systems of the bank, that there has been wrong or under-reporting of the bank's exposures, which is their leverage. Now, if this is so serious, viewers, the question we are asking tonight is why has no significant action been taken against the bank management, against the bank directors, and those who took this decision and those who were at fault? Why is it that so far, even on day 3 of this action, it's only you, the citizen, the bank customer, the bank account holder, who's having to pay for this and nobody else? Why has nobody been arrested so far? Plain and simple question that I have. But before I go to our panelists, and we have a house full tonight here in our Mirror Now studios, we want to bring you some more stories. And here's story number 1 that Amita Balachandra has got for us. She spoke to a PMC Bank customer from Mumbai, 40-year-old Deepak Kohli, who cannot access his lifetime savings of 1.5 lakh rupees. He today has lost all faith in the banking system. Take a look.
मतलब 25 साल को तो मतलब फी भरना था, तो वो निकालने गया था तो ऐसा मालूम पड़ा कि ये हो गया, बैंक ऐसा हो गया। तो फिर बोला अभी 1500 रुपये तो मेरे को पहले फ़ी भरना है, फिर 13 में बच्ची पढ़ती है उसके लिए। तो अभी ऐसा हो गया तो मेरे लिए तो ख़त्म, शौक लग गया ना मेरे को। एक तो मेरा पैसा भी, मेरे बच्ची का फिक्स डिपॉजिट भी किया है 50,000 रुपये उधर में। मैं चाहता हूँ कि अभी क्या करें, अभी ये जैसा ये घोटाला बोल रहे, वो बैंक का डायरेक्टर कौन है उसका, और वो बैंक लोन लिया उनका लपड़ा है। गरीब आदमी के पैसे से क्यों वो लोग मस्ती कर रहे हैं, समझ नहीं आ रहा है मेरे को।
Let's look at case study number 2. Another PMC Bank customer, Baby Naugare, who works as a domestic help. She saved little by little. She managed to save 2 lakh rupees that she had kept aside to marry her daughter away. Her plans now hang in the balance as her entire savings are stuck in that one branch.
मन नहीं लगता था बाबा, कैसा मिलेगा पैसा, कैसा मिलेगा। मेरी लड़की ने पूरा दिन खाना नहीं खाया, उसको मैं फ़ोन किया, बाबा पैसे बैंक ऐसा हो गया, उसने तो पूरा दिन खाना नहीं खाया। लड़की की शादी के लिए जमा किया, अभी मेरे लड़की को कौन देगा। मैं थोड़ा थोड़ा जमा नहीं करेगी तो उसकी शादी कैसे करेगी। वही थोड़ा रहेगा तो मैं अभी अपने से थोड़ा रहेगा तो दूसरे को बोलेगा बाबा मेरे पास इतना इतना है, थोड़ा मेरे को मदद करो। अभी अपने पास यही है, दूसरा कुछ है ही नहीं। इधर मेरे को उसका काम करती है इसलिए 4000 भाड़ा है, नहीं तो इधर भाड़ा ज़्यादा है, 8-7 रुपया भाड़ा है। अभी उसका काम करती है, मैं तभी मेरे से कम लेती है, 4000 लेती है। बिल आता है 1000 रुपया महीने का, किधर से भरने का। खाना भी खाने को दिल नहीं करता है। पैसा मिलेगा नहीं मिलेगा तो क्या करेंगे, कैसा करेंगे।
People who have weddings around their corner have been the worst hit. Geeta and Devendra Sehgal were about to begin preparing for their son's wedding this December. Of course, this decision by the RBI has come as a shock to them. Take a look.
तो अभी ये पैसा ब्लॉक हो गया, मैं किधर जाऊँ?
तो आप बोल रहे थे हमें कि शादी आप आगे नहीं कर सकते।
नहीं कर सकते हैं। 10 जगह हमारी बेइज्जती होएगी। पैसों के लिए बोलेंगे कि बच्चे की शादी रोक दी है। क्या करें हम? अभी किसके आगे हम लोग को करें? हमारी तकलीफ है। आज जो कर रहा है उसको तकलीफ दो ना। हम तीसरे जने को क्यों तकलीफ दे रहे हो?
Here is a story of Chandan Paresh Karania, who runs an electrical store. He saved up to 7 lakh rupees to manage everyday business. Now, her business actually hangs in the balance because all of the money is not accessible to her. Her money in a bank account, not accessible to her.
I had only one current account with the bank. I did not know something like this is going to happen and we need to keep 2-3 accounts. See, we are told, let us be with our government, let us do digital payments, everything. So this is why I have got 7 lakhs in my account. Now all that money is blocked. I need to make urgent payments around 2 lakhs of rupees. I have no idea from where, and if I borrow it from someone, I need to pay some interest. Nobody is going to give it free to me. Now my mother-in-law, she needs a cataract operation.
10,000 से कुछ नहीं होता है। मेरा बहुत खर्चा है। मेरा दवा का कितना खर्चा है आपको अभी मैं क्या बताऊं? नहीं होता है 10,000 से। ये बच्चे ने कल से कुछ खाया नहीं है। ये कितना रो रही थी।
फिलहाल तो मुझे समझो 2-3 लाख रुपए तो चाहिएगा। सेकंड, अगर मेरा कोई LIC या कुछ लैप्स होता है, समझो मेडिक्लेम लैप्स होता है, तो कौन जिम्मेदार है इसके लिए? क्योंकि कंपनी तो बोलती है कि आपका हफ्ता लैप्स हो गया, आपने भरा नहीं तो आपको आगे हम लोग कुछ भी नहीं देंगे।
See, already we are saying our economy needs to revive, and something like this happens. You can understand the plight of retailers, what they are going through. There are many retailers like me who are having just one current account. All their money is blocked. They cannot do anything. How are they going to survive?
That's the question in the minds of many people tonight. And it could be any of us. It could be any of our cooperative banks where we've opened an account, maybe for savings, maybe for safekeeping, maybe for that extra, little bit of extra interest that we're getting without ever thinking or even dreaming about the fact that this could happen to us. It's worse than, and I've said that earlier as well, it's worse than what we all went through as pain during demonetization. Because right now, they can only access 10,000 rupees in 6 months, and there is no clarity on what goes on next. Let's say good evening to our panelists. Feroz Aziz, Deputy CEO of Anand Rathi Wealth, joins me this evening. Yogesh Pawar, Senior Journalist, also with us in our studios. Shara NC, spokesperson of BJP. Shirish Deshpande is the Chairman for Mumbai Grahak Panchayat. Clyde Crasto, also in the studios with us, a spokesperson of NCP. And Ravi Srivastava, also a Citizen Voice, joins us this evening. And let me start with Mr. Deshpande. Mr. Deshpande, it's unfortunate, no matter what goes wrong in this country, at what scale, no matter whose fault it is, somehow it seems the only one paying for it is the taxpayer.
Sorry?
It seems that the only one who's paying for this, Mr. Deshpande, is the taxpayer who seems to be suffering right now.
It's not a taxpayer. I'll just correct it. It is the bank depositor,
right,
who suffers. It's a customer, and for absolutely no fault of his. In fact, it defies all your common sense. It defies all concepts of justice. You see, the basic concept of justice is one who is guilty needs to be punished. And here you see that the innocent bank consumers, for absolutely no fault of theirs, is being penalized, being punished, and being put to all distress and hardships possible. Who owns the responsibility? Those who are guilty, so far, except removal of them from the board. What has been done? Nothing. And who suffers? The common man suffers. You have seen all the agony, all the woes. So the whole system is open to question. You see, these are only the examples what we need to take. What happened to CKP Cooperative Bank, Pain Urban Cooperative Bank? Every time there is some fraud, there are some irregularities. We have the so-called watchdog called Reserve Bank of India. What they are doing, we don't know. And only when they act, they claim and they swear in the name of depositors' interest, depositors' protection. But my open question to Reserve Bank Governor today is, sir, please explain to us where is the depositors' protection? You said you exercise your powers under Certify A in the interest of depositors. Where is the depositors' interest? Is it that you allow their own money to be withdrawn to the extent of only 10,000 rupees and that too in the span of 6 months? One cannot have even a survival out of it.
Right.
Where is the deposit protection? And if you see the Reserve Bank relevant provisions, Banking Regulation Act, every second line says about the depositors' interest, protection of depositors' interest. Is this action anyway going to lead to depositors' protection? And this is my open question to Reserve Bank Governor, is my open question to the Finance Minister.
Shana, is there anything that the government can tell the citizens tonight? The Reserve Bank of India may have taken this decision, but at the end of the day, the government works together with Reserve Bank of India when it comes to these issues. At the end of the day, when it comes to cooperative banks, the states have a role to play. Why is it that the citizens are suffering tonight and the only ones suffering tonight? No accountability of the bank directors, no accountability of those who approved those loans or were responsible for the irregularity.
So firstly, the irregularity does not say that there will be no arrest of directors or people who have committed any kind of fraud, or for that matter even not allowed the depositors to withdraw the required amount which is legitimately theirs. I don't think they need permissions or to justify whether it's for a wedding or what they want to spend it on. It is their money. Now, this PMC Bank, and this speaks about the larger loops, or rather, let me say, lacunas vis-a-vis the cooperative bank system. And I'm glad that we had a senior leader of our party, Kirit Somaiya, file a police complaint on behalf of the of all the customers of the banking system.
No, who asked him?
Ensure that this is brought up at the
who asked Kirit
earliest.
Somaiya to do that
RBI
now?
took cognizance of
I'm sorry,
it.
who's Kirit
From
Somaiya
one
doing this right now for the citizens? The citizens who can't access their
Mr.
money
Kirit-
anymore, what good is this complaint going to do now?
No.
What is the government doing? I don't care about Kirit Somaiya filing a
Not
complaint.
at
What is the
all.
government doing?
He himself could be a customer.
Correct. So he may do it in his own personal
The
capacity.
government-
What is
only
the
when
government
there
doing?
is a survey and there is a complaint. Right. Hello, this is not about Kirit Somaiya. Please understand, this is about the customers of the bank. I
Correct.
am only giving a process which is put to place where the citizens.
No, you raised Kirit
have
Somaiya's
asked for
complaint. I
inquiry
didn't. I don't know
survey,
why
and
you're
of
sitting
course
here and
the RBI
praising
has
him.
sprung
I
into
think that's just
action
dirty, petty
immediately.
politics that he's playing right now.
1,000. No, not at all. I don't even want to get into that aspect of this debate.
Great.
The larger fine print is that every customer is entitled to withdraw their entire money,
Yes.
or their limited money. They don't even need to give an explanation whether it's a house wedding or it's a medical treatment or what they choose to use it for. The RBI has sprung into action and said that yes, we will ensure that at least 10,000 immediately, but don't worry, we take onus and we will take stock of the situation, and your money will be safe. Now, I think that even if you see the ED case, the ED case of 25,000 crores vis-a-vis Mr. Sharad Pawar and the cooperative movement of the sugar barons, that has also come out in the public domain. And please believe me when I say Prime Minister Modi wants to clean up the system.
So, okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, point taken, point taken. And we've all heard you out, and three of my panelists are now all set to respond to that. I just want to say, Shaina NC, that the case that you are referring to, which we will get into just a bit, has gone on for 10 years. Your government has been in power in center and state for over 5 years. You didn't do anything about it. Let's just be very clear, unless the court woke you up and said, hey, go file a complaint, start investigating the case. Secondly, if you are going to talk about politics and cooperatives, let me remind you, and we have spoken to the bank director, Mr. Ranjit Singh, who is a BJP member, whose father is a BJP MLA, and he has been a director for 13 years in this bank, and he has the audacity to
Well,
turn
action
around
will be
today
taken
and
too.
tell me that he doesn't have anything to do with the daily ops. He was just a director. What was he taking the money for if he was just a director? Ravi Srivastava, go ahead please. You wanted to make a point and then I'll come to you in the studios.
Yeah. Tanvi, let me first of all tell you, no bank thinks overnight. This is a full process. There is an internal audit, there is an external audit, there is an RBI audit. Why everybody kept his eyes closed? The bank does not close in a day. It's all cropping up for a number of years and everybody knew it. The government knew it, the RBI knew it, and everybody in the system chain knew it very well. The bank is going to sink. Varyam Singh, the man who is a director for HDIL also and for the bank also, has a serious conflict of interest. How could he give a loan of 2,500 crore to HDIL, which is sunk today? With a DHFL, which is under 1 lakh crore debt today? Who advanced to these people? How could he give the money? Who gave the approval for that? This is all a systematic malice where the government, the particular MLA, the particular party, everyone is involved left, right and center. And the poor customer and the heart-rendering stories we are hearing today, their hard-earned money of the housewives, the small transporters, the small retailers, they are crying today. This is all the fault of the government. The government can allow this Malia to go away with 9,000 crore abroad. They can send Mehul Chokshi with 13,000 crore abroad. And these people for 1,000 rupees, for 5,000 rupees, for 10,000 rupees, they are on the street. Is this the new India Mr. Modi is professing today? Is this the kind of hardship these people are going to face today? This is how you are making the ease of business in India today? What a nonsense this government is giving an explanation. And RBI especially is hard involved in the whole thing. Yeah, I say even the governor should be sacked for this kind of faults in this process.
Yes, but somebody has to fix a systemic problem. Somebody has to fix a systemic problem. Somebody has to put in a procedure in place. Somebody has to say that the citizens are not to be blamed. The citizens are not to be made to suffer. It's the management. The government can step in. Why make the citizens suffer? Now, Firoz, shed some light on the problem that exists within the cooperative banks. This is not the first one. You know, if you look at the data, a significant number of banks have gone bust in the last 15 years. Everybody knows there is a problem with the scrutiny. The RBI roughly, I understand, checks the books once a year. What's the extent of scrutiny when it comes to these banks?
See, I think the extent of scrutiny is far more liberal when it comes to private sector banks. The extent of scrutiny is far, far more. Right. We also try and run an NBFC, now non-banking financial corporation. Right. The kind of scrutiny an NBFC goes through is far, far more than these cooperative banks.
Even the cooperative banks.
Over the If I have to arrange them in the chronological order of the kind of emphasis on scrutiny, I think the private sector banks, the public sector banks, and then NBFCs, and then comes the cooperative sector banks. So I think the point being made here is, I think the kind of concentration in the loan advances in these cooperative banks because of its loose governance has been far more than what the private sector bank has been. What happens is their teams are smaller, so they end up lending to corporates in larger quantums. Their retail lending is quite low. So that's the second reason. I think in a situation like this, there's one portion of community which is affected, but there's a lot of other people who have to derive learnings from this, because the cooperative banks are not remunerating us far more than the rest of them. So why am I so keen to even have my deposits there? I would definitely want to, unless there is a 200 bips or 2% more I'm getting, then there is some degree of cost benefit analysis I would do. When the cost is more and the benefit is none. So I think all of us should learn a lesson and try and see that these kind of episodes impact a smaller community going forward.
Well, I think one lesson that definitely everybody needs to learn is to know this fact, whether the scrutiny when it comes to cooperative banks is far, far less. The possibility of, involvement, political involvement, the instances and the number of instances where you've had people being put in posts of directors and managers via politicians in these cooperatives is far, far more. You just need a basic amount of about 25 crore. Is that the lowest base that you need to start a cooperative?
Yeah.
That's hardly anything. And then you get going from there, and that business begins. And imagine what level of scrutiny may be happening for hundreds of these cooperatives that exist in far-flung areas. That's the risk that we need to also understand. But that doesn't take away the responsibility of the RBI. That doesn't take away the responsibility of the government. I believe I've got Mr. Sundar Balakrishnan on the phone line. Very quickly, I want to go to him because Mr. Balakrishnan is a depositor, is also in this bank, a bank account holder. Mr. Balakrishnan, I believe you tried to file a complaint as well.
See, today evening at around 6 o'clock, I went to Chembur police station. This is, you can't see this, but I just gave an application there for filing an FIR under section 420 and for money laundering. And you won't believe they were not prepared to take my application just because BJP guys are involved here. BJP guys. But the same BJP wants to put behind bars all those opposition leaders who are involved in the other cooperative banks.
Please, let me just get this straight, because obviously you're not with us and I don't have the evidence. So this is your claim right now, but you're saying that you went to the police station in Chembur with a complaint, and right now there is no FIR filed on the basis of that complaint. Your complaint has not been accepted as a bank account holder.
Yes. And what does Kirit Somaya have got a right to do this? Is it trying to take a political advantage of the whole thing? Is he a deposit holder?
Right.
And what was he doing for all this day, all this month? And what was his RBI doing?
Right.
For 6 months?
We're going to follow up with you, Mr. Balakrishnan, because it's extremely essential to, check this and highlight the fact if the police is turning away aggrieved bank customers where they want to file a complaint. Yes. Yes, 1 minute, Ravi Srivastava. I have two more panelists who haven't spoken yet.
Can I make a small comment over here?
Okay, small 30-second comment, and then I need to go across to our panelists here. 30 seconds.
Go ahead. Yeah, I just want to suggest Mr. Sundar Balakrishnan, if the police station does not take the FIR, does not lodge the complaint, he can move to the magistrate court and file the FIR there. You should not keep silent because your lakhs of money of deposit is being lost just for the incompetence.
Yes, but Mr. Ravi Srivastava, you know it because you are an active citizen and Sundar Balakrishnan is one as well. But it's so unfair that, citizens have to go through all of this. Why should anybody have to fight this hard to just get their own money? Clyde, go ahead, please.
Tanvi, I just hope I'm allowed to talk a little uninterrupted because I've been listening very patiently to everyone.
What can we do? We have no option.
Yes, Mr. Ravi Srivastava, let Clyde speak now.
Yeah, I've been listening very patiently, everyone. Now, what I want to make a point here is, because China and she mentioned about Mr. Pawar. Now, let me make it very clear to everybody who's listening and to the people here is that Mr. Pawar was never a member or on the board of any of the banks that we are talking about today. Okay, she mentioned about whatever 25,000 crore scam and all. He was never remotely even connected to those banks. Now, just on the basis of a petitioner is saying that he was the influencer, the ED has gone and registered an FIR and and has put his name in that. Now, the EOW, the Economic Offense.
Pawar is connected.
No, we are talking. She spoke about Sharad Pawar. No, see, that's a process of law. Nobody's above the law.
No, but he was on the board. No, exactly the point that I was making about powerful politicians and their people being on boards.
Let the law take its course. I agree to that. That's what I'm coming to. Whoever it may be, nobody is above the law, whether it's somebody from my party or some other party. I'm making it very clear here. But the point here is, Mr. Sharad Pawar is not even remotely connected to this whole thing. The EOW, when they filed an FIR, his name was not there. The earlier government, when they were investigating, his name was not there. But the ED goes down and puts his name. Normally the process is, and correct me if I'm wrong because I know I'm right, is that when the EOW prepares a FIR, the ED takes over and then that FIR is taken forward. Now, when you can do that, today you have the directors of PMC Bank who are connected to the BJP, the names are there, your paper reported it.
Yeah.
Now, China went on to very, sort of boasting manner said that, Kirit Somaya went and lodged a complaint or whatever. So if his name is there, if he's the director, what is stopping the ED to go and file an FIR in their name?
Correct.
When there is nobody who's remotely connected, you take their name without any FIR in the EOW. Yeah. Why can't the ED go and take a suo motu cognizance and put that name also? Let's be fair to everybody.
Fair
Nobody's
enough.
about the law.
Shaina and see.
Take the names.
Shaina and see.
Let the BJP
If the rules are the same and you
let the rules
quote,
apply everywhere.
if the rules are the same and you quote the other big scam, then in this case as well, why isn't Ranjit Singh, director of PMC, a BJP worker, son of a BJP MLA, also booked? He's a director. He's been a director for over a decade.
Any guilty board holder, anybody who has usurped funds, anybody who there is evidence against will be dealt with in accordance with law.
No, so that's exactly what I'm telling you. Here is a director who's been on that bank's board for over a decade. Something has gone wrong under his scrutiny. Why should he not be held accountable? I'm telling you exactly, right? The guilty, you will find somebody's guilt only when you start an investigation against that person.
Of course he should be. Of course.
No, give me 30 seconds.
Okay, let us just respond to my question and then I'm
but the larger point here, Tanvi, is this irregularity. The irregularity comes up only when there is scrutiny or survey, and that is essential in all cooperative banks, because we have seen time and again how, whether it's a politician or anybody in a position of power, we are not insulating and we will never insulate. It is in our government that we have tried to ensure to the best of our ability a scam-free scenario where the guilty perpetrators are booked in accordance with law. Whether it is the enforcement directorate, whether it's the Mumbai police.
None of the investigations,
there we go
none of the investigations against scams under your tenure have gone anywhere, Shaina. Nor can you actually make a claim that it's been a scam-free tenure. Let's just not go there. Let's come back to the issue at hand. Yogesh Pawar hasn't spoken. Let's just make one point and I will come back to you. Yes.
I wanted to actually bring in the idea that, you mentioned that in the past also there were several banks which have run aground like this, and depositors were left high and dry. I have myself gone and covered in 2004-05. There was this episode of the South Indian Cooperative Bank which ran aground, and depositors were crying. The same scene playing out. People threatening to cut their veins, standing outside the bank because they were saying we are now left with nothing to do. I remember this person who used to make dosas for a living, this kind of a person who had lost everything that she'd put into that bank. Now, today, when I was coming here to the studio, to the Mirror Now studio, I end up calling up Mani Amma. And I said, what happened? Did you get your money back? And Mani Amma says, no, she's not got her money back. It's 2019. Have you in the past anywhere read of any of the top officials of that bank being held to account, have been brought to, some kind of a charge has been brought against them? Has this happened? No. But that woman lost every single pie that she had saved. She said that, just in one whiff, they told me that, no, now you can't get your money. There were 9 people in that whole thing who actually got their money because they went to the Bombay High Court and they said there is a medical emergency. All of us are family members. And if in spite of our savings, if we are not able to save this family member, then we'll all collectively commit suicide. Then the Bombay High Court forced the bank to give them money. After that, this bank was made part of another bank and it's all been forgotten. I am saying that till such a time that we don't actually take action and pin blame on. Like today, for example, if Shaina NC is saying this, or when the NCP and the Congress were in government, what have they done against their own leaders and their own directors who are involved? If that doesn't happen, then we will see this continuously repeating. And the way the economy is going, then I will be not very surprised with some of the big names. Now, Firoz here has pointed out that the cooperative sector is more at risk.
Right.
I will not be very surprised if this starts coming into
Okay.
other banking.
I just want to make one point. I think Mr. Balakrishnan was on the phone line.
Yeah.
Mr. Balakrishnan mentioned that he went to lodge a complaint and his complaint was not accepted. Now, from what the BJP spokesperson is saying, that they're very proactive about this. Now, will the Home Minister, the Chief Minister is also the Home Minister, take cognizance of the matter that a common citizen goes to the police station and his complaint is not lodged, but like someone like a Kirit Somaya goes and his complaint is accepted. So why this disparity? You need to listen to the common citizens and make sure that that the complaints are looked at. Now, if the complaint is not lodged, then the Home Minister, the Chief Minister look into it and make sure that the complaint is taken.
So one of the reasons that Sundar Balakrishnan said was obviously that there is a BJP link that has emerged. There is a story that has come in Mumbai Mirror. We followed up on one of the names, which is Ranjit Singh. We spoke with him. He confirmed the BJP link. He is a director. He said, I've never used my influence. And in fact, in just a bit, we'll play out that conversation also for our viewers. But according to the story, a majority of the 12 directors have some or the other link. Now, while that has to be looked at from the point of view of if that is a reason that action is not being taken strictly, Clyde, I have a question for you. Will you deny today that that's not just the reality of PMC, that political connection to a lot of these cooperatives is a reality even for your party and your party leaders across Maharashtra?
No, see, now let me tell you this. When you talk about the directors on the board of the cooperatives, now those are not elected
big investors, big depositors, people who are very closely connected to the way the bank's functioning.
No, so all these people, the banks are not part of a political party. These directors are elected by the shareholders, right? So after being elected by the shareholders, once they become directors,
we know the reality.
No,
Please,
so I'm just coming to that.
I mean,
if you know the reality, sir.
Can I finish?
Okay, let him finish.
Because
and I will come to you next.
Please.
Let him finish and I will come.
Everybody knows about
No, so if you don't want to hear me out, then
No, everybody wants to hear you.
So then he's not allowing me to talk.
No, he
with due respect to you, let me finish.
Mr. Deshpande, let him finish.
Let me finish. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. You'll be surprised to what I'm going to say.
Okay.
What I'm trying to say is once they're elected, they are not representatives of that party. They become directors then. But having said that, even if they are members of a particular party, if there are wrongdoings, the law should take its course, and I accept it, whether it's my party or any party. If there are any wrongdoings, the law should take its course.
How will we know about the wrongdoings? Where is this going?
Now listen to
no,
me.
The case is going
now
on,
listen
right?
to me. I will
so
tell
they're
you.
doing the inquiry. So whatever comes out, we'll accept it.
Now please
okay,
listen to
point
me.
taken.
Please listen
yes,
to me.
We'll accept it.
Yes,
Please listen
Mr.
to
Deshpande.
me. Let us recall all the banks that have collapsed. Let us take the history of all the cooperative banks. Okay, the political meddling. And what has happened? No action against any of the directors who have been removed from the banks, and no money to the depositors where the banks have gone into bust.
So are you trying to say the law is not doing a good job here?
You mean to say the other way around?
No, you just mentioned it. Sir, you just mentioned it. Nothing has happened. Yes. Right now, there is a case going on, and the courts are looking into it.
Are you saying that something has happened?
So are you questioning the courts?
I'm not questioning the court.
Don't turn it around. Here is the reality. Here is the reality. Okay. July 2019, financial curbs were placed on Anand Cooperative Bank. July 2019, financial curbs were placed on Kolikata Mahila Cooperative Bank. Financial curbs placed on Madgaon Urban Cooperative Bank in May 2019. March 2019, financial curbs on Hindu Cooperative Bank in Pathankot. July 2018, in Havra, financial curbs on United Cooperative Bank. Financial curbs on Vittal Rao Vikhe Patil Cooperative Bank in Nashik in May 2018. In November 2017, in Osmanabad, and some of those details were running on his screens just a short while ago. Financial curves on Vasantdada Nagari Sehkari Bank, and the list is endless, like he said. In fact, I was looking at the data right now.
Basically,
between 2004 and 2018, the number of cooperatives have come down from 1926 to 1551. Now, the question is, in any of these cases where irregularities have emerged, financial curbs have been put in place, did anybody go to jail?
That's precisely my question.
No. And if anybody didn't go to jail, it's because it ends up being a political rhetoric in and around elections. Everybody forgets about it. Tomorrow NCP can become best friends with BJP, come to power, form an alliance. If you do a little better than Shiv Sena, I don't know what's going to happen. It's a reality. You know that and I know that. The problem is that these cases come around when there is an election time, everybody forgets about it, and that's that.
And it's very interesting how both the spokespersons have used the same line, that we want the law to take its own course. So they're sort of mirroring. No, they're mirroring each other. But this is a very convenient line. You know, it's like it's what are those homily?
The law has been taking its own course. In Chidambaram's case, in Hooda's case, in Robert Vadra's case, in the Augusta Westland scam, in all of the big defense deals that have happened. In all of the cases that you and I have spoken about, viewers, for the last 15 years, the law is still taking its own course. Nobody has gone to jail except maybe Mr. Chidambaram for just a short while. But you wanted to come in between, please go ahead. And my question to you also, Feroz, is we've listed at a larger problem for cooperatives. What is the solution?
See, the solution to my mind, I think, is definitely for depositors to not use cooperative banks. Of course, it's a very large statement to make.
Yeah.
See, as long as I am not secure with my money, because if it's my 20-year, 30-year hard-earned money and I have several life goals dependent on it, I can't just keep waiting for the system to clean itself. And there is enough evidence that there is a fallback for the cooperative
Fair
society
enough, but what
deposits.
about the existing ones? Now, we can't tell customers to start withdrawing their money. The system will collapse tomorrow if they do that. The existing cooperatives, should they be merged with each other? That's the kind of steps you take when state banks start to go.
Of course, I think from a regulatory standpoint, this kind of data which you just read out is
yes,
stark.
coming to you next, Ravi.
It's stark. When you've consolidated the data, it hit me hard to see that there is 400
So
odd
many,
cooperative
correct,
banks.
in 15
right? When
years.
you see them in bits and pieces, the impact is very different. If you draw up a context, then you realize what you're speaking about. And I think if this kind of data does not wake up the system, especially the regulatory system, then I think there is no reason why there should be a larger game plan to transform these into another banking system and migrate these customers to a safer platform. Because I think that's the course which the system needs to take.
And I think that needs to be done on war footing basis. I don't think it is enough that Nirmala Sitharaman turns around and says, well, the RBI is looking at it and we are tracking what's happening and that's that. No, this has to be done on a war footing basis. We cannot afford any more cooperatives to go bust.
I think Tanvi,
to be scam ridden where hundreds of customers are actually stranded.
I wanted to say something about what Firoz made a point about. He said that we need to fewer customers need to go to cooperatives. But let me tell you that when you go into the rural interior areas, many of our banks, this was in Manmohan Singh's time, Deepak Parekh was on that committee. There was a committee formed to ensure that big banks which are there in cities which call you every minute, sir, loan chahiye kya, loan chahiye kya. When there is a farmer who has 10 acres of land and nobody is willing to give him loan, he's crying, going to the money lender there and then committing suicide because of those high interest rates. Now, if they don't have access to credit, then how is that going to work? Because I'm saying we need to fix the system. We can't do away with the cooperatives, because the cooperatives, while there have been, yes, there have been very, very, very ugly stories, and some of which we are discussing today. There have also been fantastic success stories, one of which is Amul and stuff like that, which we've started, women's cooperatives, microcredit groups, which have done fantastic jobs and they have led to success stories, turn people's lives around. But I'm saying we need to fix the leaks here. We need to get greater accountability. And yes, like I'm saying, in the past, if these holes had been fixed and these people had been brought to book, then we would not have these kind of scams continuing and people being left in the lurch like they are being left.
Yes, and I would have loved to ask that question even to previous governments and representatives of the Congress party, but they still refuse to take any questions. They still refuse to be part of debate. I think it's always essential to remind our viewers once in a while that they won't even participate in these discussions and what is important to the nation anymore. Ravi Srivastava, we may tend to forget you sometimes because you're not in the studios with us, but go ahead, please make your point.
Don't worry. I just want to make a small point that it's a fact, it's a naked truth that the political parties use the cooperative bank as their fiefdom. And this is not new. This has been happening for ages. But the solution part, let me talk about. Yogesh very rightly put it. Solution part is, first of all, these banks should be professionally managed and they should not be managed by the political party representatives. That's the one thing. The second thing is, most of the these cooperative banks must be merged with the lead banks in their particular area. This Rajasthan has done it on several cooperative banks. They could sustain because they were merged with the major leading banks. I think these are the few solutions, and there should be like 1 lakh rupees. There is a deposit insurance guarantee because that money has to be paid to the depositor. That limit also should be raised up, and the bank has to bear the insurance cost for that, and at least some more amount, at least 5 lakh rupees or so, must be secured by the bank so that it can be paid in case the bank goes bust, and that amount is paid to the small investor.
Yes, Mr. Deshpande.
Picking up from the point that Mr. Srivastava raised, the question fundamentally arises is whether your and my money, whether it is safe in the banks today, number one. Number two, why this limit of 1 lakh for the insurance? Why only 1 lakh is insured? My money has a value.
Correct.
Be it 1 lakh or be it 10 lakhs. My every single rupee in any goddamn bank has to be secured, and that is the prime responsibility of the regulator, Reserve Bank of India, and then the finance ministry, and ultimately the central government. And your and my money today is not same. It is whether it is cooperative bank, my friend, or it is even the PSU banks. And let me also say that private banks are not paragons of virtue. Okay?
But
they're all there. It's a question of
I'm
only
sure
degree
RBI
of
will
difference.
think 5 times before they take such a step when it comes to a private bank.
Question is now whether the depositor's money is safe and why it is not safe and why it is not secure. We must question and confront this question and try to address the system. This is the whole systemic problem, and we have to overcome that.
Absolutely.
And it's, I mean, let us keep aside all the politics and all. Keep depositor as a focal point.
Unfortunately, Mr. Deshpande, when it comes to many parts of our lives, the politics just seeps in. When it comes to cooperative banks, there's a lot of political interest at stake, so it will never be easy to do away,
I know it's not an easy
or to
thing,
fix
yes.
a problem. Yes, Feroz.
Yeah, but I think, of course, 1 lakh is the limit, but I think it's very important for us to tell the viewers that you can keep waiting for the system to change.
Yeah.
But that's a long drawn process, and you are responsible for your money. The probability is 20%. Right, 80% of them would have still been afloat, but there's 20% is not a small probability to risk my finances for a lifetime. So what I suggest to viewers is use the 1 lakh limit per head. If you have 4 family members, if you deposit your money in 4 different accounts, then it becomes 4 lakhs. Right. Now I can wait for it to be per account 4 lakhs, or I can do some action at my end. And if you have a deposit of 3 lakhs, spread it across 3 different names or a couple of other cooperative banks, and just mitigate your risk and have a sleepful night.
But you only get that money, insurance money, if the cooperative bank officially goes bust.
Finally, yeah.
Correct.
Yes,
and
that
not
takes
until
quite
then.
a
Number of years.
Correct. So that's another problem.
And
you don't get your money instantly. In this case, you will not get 1 lakh rupees.
Time value of money deteriorates. So giving 1 lakh after 10 years is 25,000 anyway.
Absolutely.
And
now I want to go back to the other angle.
Just give me one question. Here I want China INC to reply. Whether is the government going to at least take serious note of this limited insurance, which is peanuts, and will the government respond to that?
China, see that question
Well,
to you.
absolutely, without a doubt. I don't think there is a error in anybody's mind. Yes, so I'm replying. I'm saying that absolutely and without an area of doubt. My opening comment to you, Tanvi, was that nobody needs to justify why they're withdrawing and what amount they're withdrawing. It is their legit money. As far as the RBI is concerned, post the scrutiny, obviously the 1,000 is raised to 10,000, but the long-term solution has to be the entire money that is being given back to the customers, or if they choose to not withdraw or break their deposits, it's their prerogative. The guidelines that we want strict, that we want adhered to, and especially in cases of irregularity, the measures that need to be taken cannot be just 6 months. They have to be a scrutiny in cooperative banks, in all kinds of financial lending. If there is any irregularity, the guilty perpetrators must be brought to task, and that has been our stand from the beginning. Whether it's the Enforcement Directorate or the Mumbai Police, they have been given a free hand, and based on law and based in accordance with the substantive proof, it is for the honorable courts to decide in most cases.
What China NC is saying about people not having the freedom to withdraw their money, and then she will remember that one day the Prime Minister shocked us all in November 2016 by telling us that you will not have access to your money. I remember how all of us stood in lines worried that we will not get our monies back, and but after that, we know what the results of that demonetization.
I'm still waiting to see the benefits of it at some point of time. I think we're still sacrificing through this economic slowdown.
Continuously we've seen these shocks which have sort of eroded our whole trust in the fact that the financial institutions are capable of taking care of our money.
That's exactly,
so that has happened continuously.
Yes, Clyde.
That's exactly the fear I think is haunting all the people around here who who've got accounts in the PMC Bank. It's the same feeling, because even I remember even then we could withdraw only a limited amount of money. Now I just feel that 10,000 rupees in 6 months is a very, very small amount. I think the RBI should actually really look into this and make sure that that, because everybody is suffering. You heard stories since you began the show.
Come on, it is our own money.
Yes,
Who
yes.
is the Reserve
So
Bank to say no?
Yes, they need to
I mean, that is a fundamental
this.
question. Okay, you want to manage something, it can be still managed by regulating the force.
Yes.
Reserve Bank is not regulating, but they are strangulating.
So Shanansi, do you want to respond to that? Because you keep saying, Shanansi, do you want to respond to this? You keep saying that it is the depositors' money, it is the citizens' money, and nobody has the right to take it away from them. But you did it 3 years ago, and again it's happening now, and it happens to depositors in various banks. Very frequently in cooperative banks now. So what are you talking about?
You're strangulating, you're not regulating. Reserve
The
Bank must
benchmark
know.
was demonetization.
It is our money. We have a full right.
Yes.
Tanvi, how can you equate demonetization, which is a drive to do away with black money, which was endeavored to do away with corruption, middlemen, terror funding, and all kinds of illegal activities?
Stopped China.
Okay, one minute, gentlemen. Let her make a point, please. Let her. I just want to hear Shanansi, please. Let's just let her have her say. Let Shanansi have her say, please. Go ahead.
Don't make the story.
Ravi, 1 minute, please. Let her have her say. Yeah.
Sir, your anxiety will only increase your blood pressure, and when you're speaking to a lady, just have the basic respect to let her speak, and when you speak, let me listen to you. I haven't disrespected you, so please don't disrespect. My point is this, that if the cooperative banking sector has lacunas in the system, RBI and regulatory authorities must have a scrutiny process which is much, much more vigilant. What have we as state government done? We have not played any vendetta politics. If at all we have said guilty perpetrators, whether they belong to the BJP, the NCP, the Congress, they must be booked and brought to task. Do not forget.
No, but I know you keep saying this again and again.
Sugar barons who have looted the state.
Then why were you waiting for 5 years to bring the Pawar family to task? Why did the court have to tell you to bring the Pawar family to task? What were you waiting for the last 5 years?
It's not us. It is the honorable courts that did it. You've
No, but
answered
you
the
could have done it on
court.
your own. You could have done it on your own. You waited for the court to prod you.
You set a narrative.
Why didn't you do this? Why were you waiting for the court to tell you this,
You spread canards all throughout and did nothing about it.
Whatever happened to the irrigation scam?
Let's come to the point. Let's come to the point. I mean, keep aside the politics. Now let us talk about the depositors' interest. Let us talk about the depositors' interest.
Right. We have been a 5-year government devoid of any kind of scam and any kind of wrongdoing. And least of all, we walk the talk. So I don't think I'm here sitting here to listen to your sermons.
Okay, and let's hear from a viewer.
Let's talk about the clean sheet that they
calling
get.
us from Bengaluru.
The state of 70,000 crores and 25,000 crores.
Okay, one line.
More you can do.
The same 70,000 crores that they're talking about, the irrigation projects cost escalation in their term has gone 86,000 crores plus. So if you want, I'll do another show with you, 1 hour, one-on-one, ready to talk about all the scams that they've done.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Another
the clean
day.
sheet that they've been giving.
Another day, because at the end of the day, these conversations will happen, like I said, during and around election time, and then all political parties forget about the scams that the others have done once the elections are over. Jacob on the phone line from Bengaluru. Good evening, Jacob. Thank you for patiently waiting by. Go ahead, please. What would you like to say?
Thank you very much. Thank you. No, how on the earth? Hello?
Yes, go ahead, please. Hello? We can hear you.
Yeah. How on the earth RBI can fix 1,000 rupees for 6 months? They are taking lakhs of rupees per month salary. Anybody can explain, or anybody can imagine 1,000 rupees fixing? They are all highly qualified people, highly they know what is economy, what is the market, or everything. How can they fix 1,000 rupees for 6 months? This means they are not at all interested in the common people's problems.
Right.
They only want to make happy the who are in the power. That is only my feeling.
Well, that may be true. We won't know because the RBI hasn't given us an explanation on why they chose just 1,000 rupees. There is some basic math, Mr. Jacob, that has been done to say if the loan that's gone bad is indeed up to the amount of 2,500 crore and the bank had, liquidity just about 1,500 crore, then maybe they did some rough math there without keeping in mind the impact it will have on the citizens, which is why you see the limit being raised today. But I have one quick question for Feroz before we wrap this up, Feroz. The bank's otherwise financial health is not bad. It's pretty much in the same boat as most of the banks right now. But if they're not allowed to do any business in terms of no further loans, no transactions, no deposits coming in, for 6 months, does that then begin to impact its financial health?
It certainly does, because your profitability will depend on the net interest margin you make, the difference between the borrowing cost and the lending cost. So that itself enhances the chance of it not reviving from a catastrophe like this. So point one. Point two, I think if you go back a little, step back and see why RBI would have done that, I'm sure it doesn't derive sadistic pleasure out of stopping people from taking money. Sure. But what happens is, if they allow people to take the money, the last man or the lady who didn't take the money would lose all of it.
Correct.
So only the reactive people who are very proactive to take their money would get their money. So it's important to regulate, but I think having said which, the problem is you can't fix an absolute amount. If somebody has got 10 lakhs, you can't tell him take 10,000. It has to be a percentage of your deposit. Yeah. If I have put a lakh, you tell me take 10%. How can somebody who has only 1,000 rupees take all his money? Somebody who's got 10,000 take only 10% of the money. Whenever you're trying to regulate outflow, you need to be having it as percentage of what the person has deposited. So Tanvi, completely agree. This can actually increase and magnify the problem of they stopping business.
So it is in the interest of the RBI appointed administrative panel now to fix this problem as soon as possible, perhaps not wait for 6 long months, because that's just going to perhaps make the problem more difficult if indeed this bank does survive. I'm going to thank all of our panelists, Rana and C, and all the gentlemen joining us tonight. Thank you so much. The fact of the matter is, viewers, it's not fair that you and I have to pay every single time when big borrowers run away after scamming the system, after borrowing money, taking it all, and then getting out of the country. It's you and I who have to pay for bailing out the banks, for bailing out the corporates. It's not fair that we are now having to pay also for the bad decisions that have been taken by a cooperative bank, either because of negligence and lack of understanding, or because they were in cahoots with the borrower and they all ended up minting some money, pocketing some money, while you and I have to suffer today. The Reserve Bank of India needs to answer our questions. The Reserve Bank of India, along with the government, need to come out with a solution and assure us that this will not happen again with another cooperative bank or any other bank, that our money will not be taken away from us even for a single minute or single day. It is our money that we have put in the bank. And if they break our trust again, then perhaps they will be more like some of the depositors today who said they've lost faith in the banking system and they don't want to deposit their money ever again. One can only hope that fair investigation is done, irrespective of which political party or which politician's name props up in this case or in any other case which is currently under investigation. Thank you so much for joining us on this big debate. And it's time for our daily economy tracker. News number 1, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman met with the chiefs of private sector lenders. Addressing the media after the meeting, Finance Minister said that the messaging she has received from private banks, from housing finance companies and microfinance companies was extremely positive. She went on to say that demand will come back and the economy will get back on the fast track. That's the comment that Nirmala Sitharaman has made. Just along with her was one of the biggest faces of corporate India, Uday Kotak, Managing Director of Kotak Mahindra Bank. He also spoke on the state of economy. Lauding the government's step on cutting corporate taxes, Kotak said that private investments should definitely pick up now, which will then help the economy get back on track. Uday Kotak also assured that private banks will follow the repo-linked loan schemes, the ones that are meant for you and for you to get some benefits from 1st October, as has been mandated by the RBI, as was actually announced by the government. Here is the interesting one. An AC Nielsen survey shows that the biscuit segment has seen the lowest growth in the last 2 years. So it's not just the Parle G biscuit that has been grabbing the headlines, but the entire category is right now struggling. This is a result of a slump in consumer demand across the country. Slowdown has been mainly driven by a drop in volumes which is number of biscuit packs being sold and a decrease in demand, especially in the rural market. Completely out of time on this edition of The Last Word. Thank you so much for joining us.